All right, guys, welcome to today's episode of AuddyHotties. We are talking about the dreaded finances today.
Can't wait.
And how we all feel about them and all that good stuff. So, not the world's lightest episode, but we're gonna have fun with it anyways.
We always do.
We do. All right, here we go.
Hotties.
Yeah, welcome to the Audie Hottie podcast.
Here we are.
Hi guys, I'm Bree,
I'm McKenna.
and we're here today with Audie Hotties to talk to you about finances. So we're gonna open it up with our normal updates, especially if you have any financial updates lately.
I
Springing
don't
it on
think
you.
I don't think I have any financial updates except for like what the fuck is happening to our economy and like how do I prep for the future and
And yeah, it's the time. Don't look at your 401ks. Do not look at any investments. Just write it out. Don't take them out. Like,
yeah.
I know they all say that's the biggest mistake is to look at it and freak out, take your money out,
Yeah.
and then you lose out on any like future rebound of the market. So,
Same with like the stock market, right? Like if you
yeah.
have stocks, it's not the right time to like sell. It's the right time to buy
Hmm.
because then pe things will skyrocket. But
Yeah,
I don't fuck
sapphire.
with the stock
No,
market.
I don't.
So
I have an Edward Jones financial advisor that does all of that for me. I
you
said,
do?
do not engage me in any of this. You take care of it. Yeah, because I've had a 401k since I was pretty young. My mom started one for me.
Cool.
And then I've been contributing since I was like 20. Because
Nice.
her whole theory was she had read about it's like 1010 planning or something like that, where it's like for the first 10 years of your adult life, like 20 to 30, you should put in $1,000 a year. And
Oh,
then like that will compound enough down the
yeah.
road, even though it's a small amount per year, it ends up like really building up because you're young.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was her kind of like theory initially. So she got me started putting my own money in when I was young.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had that, and then I had a different one from a different employer, and then now I have a different one with the current employer, and so I've kind of just merged everything together with a financial advisor. And
Very
also,
cool.
I don't want to hyperfixate on like stock market and stuff. Like I think a lot of like
Yeah.
finance and like tech bros probably are either on the spectrum or ADHD where they're hyper focusing on that thing because it's so complex.
Yeah.
Like
And it's pattern recognition.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, kind of knowing what the market shifts are going to do and all
Hmm.
that. And I just know that if I wanted to do that, I would have to go like all in and be like, this is half my personality now.
You have no time for
I'm
anything
not willing for
else.
that to do that. No. So I thought somebody, a professional can handle this.
It's good boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta know where my energy's going.
Amazing.
And it's too stressful to watch. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It is. I don't watch it unless it's like on a TikTok video. Like the last time I saw the stock market numbers was when
Mm.
like Trump was actively talking and then the like
The
the
bottom bar
market was like actively crashing
at the
and
same
he was
time.
saying something stupid as always, but it's just funny. I think I used to have it on like it was on iPhones and you
Mm.
couldn't really remove it, but like it was just on.
One
So
of those apps that you can't get rid of. Yeah.
yeah, so for a while it was on there, but like I've never been interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
No, definitely
I
not.
don't know, but it's like smart to do. I'm sure we'll talk later on in the episode about like high yield savings accounts and
Yeah.
investing and being smart with your money, but I feel very like still like I'm still learning a lot about
Mm.
finances in the
Not totally
world and
financially literate, but in that, like,
no.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Let's see, and today is April 12th. So have you done your taxes yet?
no.
We just talked about this with dinner the other day.
I have a date with my dad tomorrow. We're doing it on
Very
over
good. Very
FaceTime.
good.
It's my sister's birthday today, so that's what the whole
Oh,
family's focusing on.
fair, fair. That's so
But
funny.
yeah, no, no, haven't done my taxes yet. I actually didn't even file last year because I didn't make any money the year
Oh, you were a student,
previous.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what's even like waiting for me, and
Oh,
I'm sure we'll talk about the procrastination with finances that is so
Mm.
effervescent in my life. But
But we've talked about
yeah.
that like in our travel episode where we were talking about that your ADHD wins out a little bit more, so you get the like procrastination and then the last minute push to finish something, whereas I get
Yes.
like the total opposite. Like, because I have rentals, I used a CPA this year to do my taxes,
Yeah.
and she didn't like contact me until a few weeks into the like window of when you can start, and I was starting to stress out. I was like, why hasn't she contacted me yet? I need to get on her schedule. Like, can I get them submitted so I can find out what I owe or like what gets comes back?
Like back in January.
Yeah. Like literally I had just gotten all my tax paperwork. And I was like
That's amazing. To be fair, I did ask for help back in January to do them, and then me and my dad just both forgot about it. So apple
oh
doesn't fall
no.
far.
You guys both, my God. I love
Oh yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's
Classic.
fine. Yeah. I think that really like we'll probably talk about this as we go on, but like my relationship with money is really interesting and like it's changed as I got older. I think that like the way that my family raised me with money is a lot different than like
Mm.
my peers, and so it's just an interesting concept. Like when I knew we were going to talk about this today, I was like, how personal do I want to be?
Yeah.
How much do I want to lay out there? But
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I don't really have any special updates, but the one that I was going to talk about is because it's related to finances, and Lauren and I were talking about this morning. But I was looking at comfort hoodies. Have you seen those before? That's like CMFT or something like that. They're a pretty big brand of hoodies that like advertises them as weighted comfort hoodies
Cool.
that are supposed to be, yeah, like good for sensory things. And they say that they promote like anxiety, depression type research and that kind of thing. So then I was looking at them because they're on like a super sale right now, and I was like, oh, cool, finally a good chance to try them. And their sizing is only unisex. So I was like, okay, I want to go see what size I would need in this brand.
Hmm.
I went to Reddit, and immediately I run into Redditors just going off on how like they're not actually weighted, they're just a thick material. This is false advertising. Like these are kind of spammy. They're actually kind of stiff and not that soft. And like some
Oh,
people like really say they love them, and other people are like it's not what it's advertised as.
yeah.
But anyway, so then we were looking at other weighted sweatshirt brands and stuff, and they were all like in the $150 range and all this stuff. And so Lauren and I were just talking about how there's so many decision related things, and it's so hard to trust like advertising and stuff
Yes.
that it's exhausting to just pick out like a sweatshirt.
It is.
Mm,
It is. And I remember like in an earlier episode you talked about how you are one of those consumers that like goes over every single detail before like purchasing something. So like that's
mhm.
so much extra energy that you're putting into that consuming process. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
And I feel like it's almost part of the gimmick
mm,
is to just like not really have a streamlined thing. And so that, some companies can get your money or like you're so overwhelmed that you buy multiple things or
mhm.
it's just not built for
Yeah. Well, and I'm
humans.
definitely a victim of the repeated advertising issue because why I was looking at them was because they were popping up on my TikTok like over and over and over again because I
Yeah.
follow a lot of
Yeah.
neurodiverse creators and stuff like
Sure.
that. It's
Sure.
like the advertising is working.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
But
too
yeah,
funny.
I think a lot of that for me does go back to like childhood stuff, so we may as well get into some of that now. But
Let's
like,
get into
let's
it.
get into it. Because I was raised pretty low income. We didn't have a lot of money to do anything, and that has really put me in just like a scarcity mindset as an adult too. And so it's part of where my like researching everything comes from. Some of it is because I'm just like so curious that I have to know like, is this actually good? Do we support this company? What's the background? What's like some of that is just my curiosity and like my care for the environment and stuff like that. But a lot of it does come from the like, okay, I have very limited money to spend. Even like as an adult, I still have that mindset. And I want to make sure that like the one thing that I'm buying is the right one thing because I may not get to like pick another one or try something else or whatever. So,
Right. That
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. My mom is very financially literate.
Yeah.
She's
Well, it sounds
pretty,
like it with like the 401k starting in their 20s and everything. Your
yep.
20s.
She read a lot, and I don't know when she started, probably like in her adulthood, but she's always been like super responsible person where she was like one of her first in her family to go to college and like hustling when she was in college to pay for everything and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So she kind of instilled that from a young age, which has been really fortunate for me. Um, the other thing that really helped me was I worked at a credit union for a while as a
Oh,
teller.
fun.
And the things I learned.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, you see some really interesting scenarios there. A lot of like how people end up in really bad places, and then also like seeing people who made smart decisions and like how they were using their money or like where their money was coming from. Like, not that I really ever want to own franchises or anything, but I saw a lot of people that owned franchise locations, like one location or two locations, and they would bring in like regular checks from that business, and then they were like, yeah, I just don't use that money for day-to-day stuff. I use it as like my like totally just savings.
Wow.
But anyways, I just learned such a lot of random things and also how strongly emotions are connected to money and
Yeah.
lots of dealing with people who are very upset and in bad places and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want to be there, so how can I avoid that kind of thing?
It is so interesting because it's like it's a I mean, yes, currency is a word for money, but it is just a currency. And it's
Right.
interesting that it holds so much power in people's lives and like so much emotional, it can hold a lot of emotional investment.
Yeah.
But did you notice like when you were like growing up though, do you feel like what do you feel like neurodiversity played within like
Hmm.
even learning about finances? Like, do you think that hyperfixation had something to do with it? Do you think that it was like your experience of growing up with not a lot of money that kind of like motivated you to have more financial literacy?
I think it's definitely a combination of the two. And I think my neurodiversity, my autism especially, really helped me in that path. Like
Yeah.
the ability to really take in all that information and like critically think about like where am I gonna find this information and
Yeah.
what do I need to know next to further this information and um I think that helped me in feeling control over my financial situation.
Hmm.
Um and yeah, so I think I feel pretty fortunate that my autism took over in that role.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, especially for more of the ADHD side, that I struggle with like wanting to look at it. Like I need the control for my autism side. My ADHD side is like, that's too much to look at. Oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. Like, what are we going to look at? There's no deadlines because it's just my own finances. So,
Yeah. Right.
mm,
It's like a form of self-care in a way,
yeah,
right? Like showing up for yourself. So
yeah,
it's lucky that your autism outweighs.
yeah. What has your experience been with finances from a younger age to now? Mm.
So I really do attribute finances to like how much I've worked and hustled, like
Mm.
from a very young age.
Yeah.
Um, Starting work with my grandma and like, being paid by the hour from her, literally to just do like arbitrary things. But
Oh.
it was fun to like start making money then. But my habit has always been I get it and then I spend it. And so then I
Mm.
work more so that I can spend more.
Mm.
And that pattern has really followed me up until this past summer,
Mm.
where I really like stopped that because I had to, just going into autistic burnout and realizing that like there is so much more power in like living within your means and living within your capacity energy wise and like honoring that, going back to like that form of self-care. It was just something I had never really like experienced before.
Mm.
Um, but I had multiple jobs throughout my like early years in college. Like I worked at pumpkin farms during the fall and then I babysat multiple families. I started nannying kind of after college. It just fell into nannying, dog sitting, dog walking. um, and really had this like gig life kind of
Mhm.
built for me. And it's interesting because I can see that I could have a lot of like shame attached to not investing that money, where instead I see that I invested in myself and experiences. Like, that's
Yeah.
the money I used for traveling. That's the money I used for socializing.
Yeah.
Um, and I really did have a lot of fun in my 20s.
That's
So
awesome.
I wouldn't give it back for anything.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is so interesting on the
yeah,
shame aspect of things
yeah,
because with my background, I have shame at spending money.
yeah,
So like the saving actually makes me feel like, oh, I've like achieved the things. I'm like, oh, I feel really good about that, and here's my numbers or like whatever. And then I
yeah,
feel a lot of shame about, okay, I'm gonna spend this money on something that I want to do, even though I
yeah,
want those experiences and like
right.
value that and everything. Like it's really hard for me to commit to the fun things.
Yeah,
So it's interesting, like almost complete opposite.
I
We're
know.
running to that a lot with the two of us,
Me
really.
too. Well, that's so hard because it's like there's so, again, so much joy attached to those
Hmm.
things and those experiences. And what I wish is that I had more of a balance
Hmm.
of like
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, not feeling shame to either side would be wonderful.
exactly. Exactly. And I've worked really hard to like break a lot of those shame
Mhm.
thoughts, um, especially with my past. I think right now, like my present shame is really hard to like break from. And
Mhm.
like my finances are something that I avoid
Mhm.
because they cause me so much anxiety. And I have a lot of like medical things going on where I'm seeing like 10 different offices
Oh my
regularly,
gosh,
and
yeah.
medical bills just like come flying in. And like I finally had to have a like weekend with my mom where we just sorted through my paperwork and like
Mm.
paid bills off. And like
Wow. Yeah.
because it feels like such an influx. And like I also like felt so bad that I had to ask for help from her. And then at the same time, it's like she's so loving towards me and non-judgmental that like she was
Mhm.
happy to step in and help me. And like
Yeah.
we put implements into place for it not to happen again. And um
Thank goodness for the supports. I mean, it sounds
yeah,
like we're both really privileged in that area of having parents who are able to support us in those areas and like may not be experts, but at least,
yeah,
put in that care and effort and try to
yeah,
set us up for success and all of that. So I can imagine if you don't have any supports, just how hard it would be to manage it. Or if you have like familial, everybody has really strong ADHD or something and everyone's really bad at money, like
totally.
how do you get out of that cycle
Yeah.
without help? And that was something that was hard in my marriage was that
Mm,
he was very ADHD and did kind of that more of the avoidance, didn't want
yeah.
to look at it, too much stress to even like talk about
Yeah.
what was happening with finances. And I feel such a need for control of it that
Right.
was really distressing to me too. So then it was like a cycle of distress between the two of us. Of
Right.
yeah, like what I needed was distressing to him and what he needed was distressing to me.
Sure. And it takes like communication and really good communication skills to kind of get through
Hmm.
that. And that sounds really hard. And, finances break up relationships all
It's like
the
the top.
time.
Yeah, it's one of the
Yeah.
top things.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
just so interesting again because it's this thing that is not like it's currency. My
And we
mom,
put value in it that's like not needed. Like
we really
your value
do.
isn't based on how much money you have or don't have or make or
It's not, and I do wonder if it's that like societal assignment to money in terms of
Mhm.
like status and power and that and success and even just like managing your money is successful. And
Yeah.
it is interesting that there is so much value assigned to it.
Do you think that
Um,
that is so do you think that that outlook of like my value is based in my money and like I am what my job is, that kind of thing, like do you think that that's a neurotypical perspective or do you think that we all fall into it a little bit?
I think that we all fall into it because it's part of our whole I think that like our country, especially in our society, I would say, um, I do wonder how like the differences between how neurotypical and neurodivergent people experience money. Like, I wonder if neurotypical people experience as much stress
Mm.
as neurodivergent folks, or like if there are neurodivergent folks that like find a lot of enjoyment in knowing that they have money or they feel powerful. Well, look at Elon Musk. Now
Yeah.
that I'm talking.
Yeah, I have a list of celebrities I purposely left him off. So.
Duh.
Duh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's people that is their like special interest or anything too, and that makes them feel like enjoyment at just talking about it and having it, and what are we gonna do with it and all of that.
That is true.
Yeah,
That is true.
I think that I see it as like it feel good to be in control of my money and have it like going in like the right path or whatever, but I don't see that like importance of money to like who I am so
Mhm.
much. I see it in the like survival aspect of like growing up with less money. You always have that fear of like, okay, what happens if we don't have enough money this month? Or, what happens then? Like we didn't outwardly really talk about that stuff, but there was always kind of the lingering concern. I see it as like a safety thing, not so much as like a like this means I'm special or anything like that. And I see it for
Like,
like the realistic crap that it is
yeah.
of like sometimes I step back and do the thing of like, we're just like weird creatures on this planet that created a system, that created money, a paper thing that we say has value, and that we
Yeah.
use for things to exchange goods. And like, I don't know. I see that like
Yeah.
weird aspect where I'm like, this isn't real.
It isn't real. My mom reminds me of that all the time, especially when I'm in like anxious spirals about money.
Mm,
She's just like, McKenna, this is not what life's about. And like,
yeah.
this is not like, it is important because it's dictating a way that you feel. But at the same time, like, this is not the important part of life. And,
Yeah. I have to remind
um,
myself a lot like money comes and goes. Like
yes,
it's
it's an
going
energy.
to
Yeah.
be there, it's going to be gone. Something's going to happen. You
Yeah.
can't control everything. And
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
No, it's so true. And, Um, I have a couple of things. Like, have you heard of, because we've talked about like the Facebook no buy groups. There's
Mhm.
also someone I follow who is in Portland. They're autistic, I believe. I don't believe that they're AuddyHD, but they are part of this like no buy store.
Oh, cool.
And they talk a lot about this concept of like
Mm.
coming back to community as a form of resistance to like our societal power
Yeah.
money grab that's happening right now.
Back to other forms of currency to use as far as like skills
Yeah.
and trades and items and
Yeah.
things like that beyond just the monetary value.
Well, especially since capitalism is so like it only works because of money. Like it breaks down. I think we
Hmm.
talked about that a couple of weeks ago where it starts to break down when people come together and use other skills and communicate even
Yeah.
and rely on each other. Like it's just our society is so built to be this individualistic. I'm reading All About Love right now by Bell Hooks, and I'm on
Mm.
the chapter of greed and
Okay.
just how like
Was that one of the books that we recommended in the love episode? Okay, cool.
yeah. And I read it years and years ago and just kind of forgot a lot about it. And so I was like, I'm gonna pick it up again. And I like cried during the
Well,
first chapter and the second chapter and
uh,
highly
is the
recommend
book
it.
is it a book you have or is it like one that you borrowed?
I have it.
You have it. Can I borrow it after you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, I'm just
Yeah.
going to use my resources to borrow things.
Please do.
And then
Please
we can
do.
do an episode on it. We've talked about doing book reviews before, so it sounds like a good natural start. Okay, sounds good.
I like
After
have
we
my
both read
special
it.
interest feeling.
We should start. Okay, guys, our first like side project could be book
Da-da-da.
club with McKenna and Bree.
BC.
Book club.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about from childhood things was I've talked about before that I think my dad was autistic, and pretty heavily. And so one of the things that I also grew up with was that my mom had to control our money because my dad had a serious shopping addiction on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he would just buy like willy-nilly anything that he was interested in. Like his
Interesting.
special interests were like guitars, computers,
Yeah.
video games, that kind of thing. And he would just like without any concept of like the money being spent, would just
Yeah.
click buy. And I think
Wow.
that's some of the hard parts of people who are undiagnosed too, is that you don't know what you're doing and why, but I'm
Yeah.
sure that he was dopamine searching
Hmm.
and like trying to cope with life through getting those little instant hits of, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, online shopping is so dangerous.
Yeah. That's super.
Like it's just this dopamine hit that's out of sight, out of mind, and it's so
Mhm.
easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, especially ADHD, because of the impulse control difficulty plus the
Yes.
dopamine need and
Yeah.
really having that even in-person shopping of just the hit every
Yes.
time of a literal like addiction
Yeah.
to getting that dopamine.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we avoid too like things like bills because that is
Yeah.
the opposite of dopamine.
It really is. It's
It's
not
like
exciting to open up an envelope and see
yeah.
that you owe money and it's 2 months
Mhm.
past. And it's
Yeah.
really not fun.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, for me, I get paid one time a month and it is, I
Mm,
hate getting paid one time a month
I
because there's
agree.
no dopamine in it at all.
Nope.
Yeah, when I worked travel for a while, I got paid weekly, which
Yeah.
was so fun. It was just like, ooh, money.
Pay
Even
me
though
again. Pay me again.
even though it was like a small amount more often, it's just like the frequency of it made it feel like I was getting more. Whereas the
Yeah.
one time a month feels really like, well, I waited forever and now it's instantly gone
Yeah.
because you got to send it right back out for bills.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
It's not fun.
Yeah, not a good time.
It's really not a good time.
Yeah.
I had another thought about that, but it has escaped the station.
About shopping or
Oh, my my grandma, like one of the things I used to do for her, she was a like big online shopper,
mm,
big like I think QVC buyer, like
okay.
the whatever it's called on television,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
television
The
shopping
mhm.
network. And it's like a funny story in our family that she's banned for life from QVC because she like so her pattern was to buy things and then return them.
Mm.
So it was like it was this I mean, non-judgmental. It was just an odd thing that like happened and I mean it still has continued to this day.
Do you think that she experiences like shame after she gets the thing, or like that is
I
the
don't
joy for her
know.
is like just getting it, opening it, and then sending it?
I don't know. I
Hmm.
think that like homegirl needs like busy things to do.
Ah,
Like and it just
yeah.
like fills her time. Like I remember her telling me that like whenever she dropped off her kids at school that she would go like straight to the mall.
Oh,
Like so I think just by default she is like a consumer and
yeah.
so it's just interesting
Huh.
and yeah, I have seen that pattern trickle into my life. Particularly when I was shopping a lot at Target. And like
Mm.
I would go to Target, I would just like
Target is
let
so
myself,
dangerous.
it is so dangerous. And I would like let myself just kind of like go wild, like
Mm.
within reason. Um, and then like a week later, 2 weeks later, I would like return several things. And I I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
Probably just about like not managing what I had and living within my means and um
When they say like breaking generational cycles,
yeah.
like that's where we're at. It's like
Yes.
it's a finance thing too. You got to break the cycle of the
Totally.
habits that you were taught, the habits that you saw around you, and
Yeah.
like yeah. And I
Absolutely.
think some of that is like you were saying before. I was gonna ask you with your switch from being more like get the paycheck, spend the paycheck to now like planning a little bit ahead. Do you feel like that was more of a like reactionary approach? Like you were just reacting to like there's money, I can use it. reacting instead of like planning ahead of time.
Oh, for 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and also like my values
Hmm.
were my values of uh well, I guess the value has always been the same, which has been freedom and
Yeah.
feeling free. Like that's one of my biggest values. And so the money was a tool. So
Yeah.
once I got it, I could then have that freedom. What I've learned is that planning and living within your means is a freedom as well.
Yeah, you're using the tool
Um,
differently.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Mhm.
um,
Which I was gonna say, when I get dysregulated, I definitely see myself falling into that inability to plan.
yeah,
And it's like everything is just happening to me instead of me feeling like I'm in control of what's happening.
yeah.
And that comes down to finances too. Like I'll like forget to plan and then I get to the end of the month and I'm like, oh crap, now I've got to do it all in one day and that kind of thing. So it definitely relates to regulation and where my neural system is at.
Oh, for sure. Like I think about grad school and the way I was making and spending money. I mean, there was just no control. And it really had to do with nervous system dysregulation.
Yeah, like we
And
talked about that like extreme high of
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, it was very difficult. And um, I felt like I had to work during grad school because I did want to spend money.
Yeah.
So then I did, and then was completely burned out by the end. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's one other area of neurodiversity that I wanted to talk about, which is some of the other conditions under the umbrella.
Hmm.
So dyslexia and
Hmm.
calculia, dyscalculia. I don't know, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Those two things also fall under the umbrella. And so if you are someone that struggles with those areas, I can't imagine trying to manage money when you can't even like make the numbers and words and everything make sense in their organization, like
Hmm.
on the page within your brain, like all of that, like that process of trying to like not just make the finances complication in to make sense, but make the literal like things that you're seeing in front of you make sense.
Hmm.
Sounds wild. So I'd be really interested to hear from anybody that hasn't any like compensations that they've used for like how to deal with finances or yeah, just thought that was an interesting perspective that I don't know anything about.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know anything about that either. And I think it makes me even think of like AuddyHD in the sense of like from a disability lens of like, yeah, it are these grand concepts that are hard for folks to grasp
Yeah. Mm,
dynamically.
definitely. We might need more of those outside supports to
Yeah.
really get them and understand, or even to just entrust them to somebody who does know what they're doing, like I do. Just,
Yeah.
if you have the ability to, have somebody else do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I did see some people talking about ways to like improve working on their finances and some different apps that they recommend, that kind of thing, just to like get an outside management ability. But an interesting one that they were talking about was guanfacine. Do you know anything about?
I take guanfacine.
You do? Have you heard anything about it being good for like helping you organize your brain in order to like organize finance things? Mm,
Case in point, doesn't work very well for me.
no.
I don't know. The only thing I feel with guanfacine is that I feel calmer.
Mm.
Like, and it is a blood pressure medication. So I experience a lot less anxiety when I am taking it regularly.
Huh, okay.
But that organization hasn't kicked in yet. Maybe I need to up my dose, but that would be nice. Is that what people say online?
Some people were recommending it like in the comments on like because there's a lot of posts about people talking about how do I deal with anxiety about money, how do I deal with managing my money, that kind of thing. And that was one of the things that popped up a bunch of times as recommended ways to work through it was like, oh, you should look into taking guanfacine.
Interesting.
And I was like, is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Okay. I took a whole class around how to pronounce medications and I still can't pronounce medications.
They're hard.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple people had cool other ideas for helping manage. So there's a lot of app options. One that a lot of people mentioned was the Finch app. I've never used it, but apparently it can be pretty helpful. But then this person was talking about helping with impulsivity, and there's a few things that they do. They only buy things if they're on sale, which is kind of what I do. I can't, but mine's a shame-based thing, not a planning thing. I can only buy things if they're on sale or like heavily discounted.
We're gonna have to go to a store and like do full price
Just
things
exposure
and
therapy to
just
it.
I'll be your cheerleader. You can do
You can do
it.
it. It's
We'll assign a
okay.
budget
Uh-huh.
and then
There's nothing wrong
there's
with
freedom.
spending money. Yeah.
There's freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, only buying things if they're on sale, only buying if it's on their wish list for at least 6 months, which is an interesting one if it's like something that you don't
That's so
really
hard for
need.
me.
Yeah.
I have a list like that on my notes app where it's like
Mm.
to be purchased and I usually can't last more than a
Mm.
month.
Yeah. So maybe yeah, setting those timelines for yourself if you know
Yeah.
like, oh, this is how much time I need to think about it. And some
Yeah.
people I know like with impulsivity, some people's is so fast. Like if it could be like if you don't buy it in that exact moment, like sometimes I'll put things in a shopping cart. And if
Yeah.
I don't buy it in that exact moment that I'm looking at that shopping cart, usually I'll forget about it. And if I don't forget about it, then I'm like, okay, well that thing actually was important to me.
Yeah.
So I've gone back to look at it. But if I just put it in there and I never look at it again,
Got the dopamine hit. Didn't have to
yep.
spend the money.
There it goes. And then some of the other no or low buy things were like only buying if they already have it and they just need a refill of that item or they know that they like that item, and not putting any extra items in their cart to get free shipping. That was a tricky one.
Oh, I'm the culprit of that for sure.
Yeah.
For
I'm
sure.
like, I could need another $15 of things. Like,
Yes.
that's a tricky, tricky thing.
You know, it's funny though. I do feel like I have stopped online shopping as much as I have in the past.
Mhm.
And part of it is that um, it's gotten really difficult to figure out like how to return things. Like I have like probably four things in my truck that have needed to be returned, but like
Mm.
I cannot figure out for the life of me how to do it. And now like they've passed their return like windows. And so I'm just like, I'm not fucking online shopping anymore. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to. And so it's helped my wallet quite a bit.
That is a great segue though into another topic on it was the they called it the ADHD tax, but I
Yep.
say the AuddyHD tax too.
I say it
Of
all the time.
there's a tax on things that we do accidentally or
Yes.
our, disability makes us accidentally forget things and then we end up having to pay more for. So exactly like that, where you have this tax of like these things that you meant to return, but now you can't return and
I just had this actually with Jules at Hair for Humans.
oh yeah.
So I got my hair cut by them. And that morning I had like canceled my card because I couldn't find it.
Mm.
And I ordered a new one. But that old card was on file for the appointment.
Oh.
And by the time, like, so what you do with my bank is you order a new card and then they give you a new virtual one to use. And
Oh,
it
okay.
works on Apple Pay and whatnot. So
Nice.
I do that several times a year. So I know.
Yeah, she's an expert in. Thank goodness card replacement doesn't cost anything.
I know. I am ready for the day where it's like $5 per card.
They're
And I'm
like,
like,
listen, McKenna, you've done
ADHD
this
tax.
6 times this year. You're at your limit.
The person that's producing cards is like, McKenna Stack again? What are you gonna do? Organization is not my strong suit. But so I got to the appointment, we did the appointment, and then we're like talking afterwards, and I like got my phone out to pay, and they were like, "Oh, I have your card on file." And I was like, "Oh, it's not gonna work because I like changed it." And they were like, "Oh, I don't have a way for you to put in tap or anything." And I was like,
Oh.
and I just like immediately started having a panic attack
Oh.
because I was just like, oh my God, like I didn't bring cash and I didn't know that this was going to happen and this and that and like freaked out just
Mm.
like shamed wise. And like after a few just talking through it, we realized that like they could input my virtual card information
Mm.
into their system, but like I almost started crying because I just felt like I even feel like I'm gonna cry right now, but it's like that shame of like I do have the money, but like I can't get it to you. And that's just
Yeah.
so I made the joke with them afterwards of like, yeah, ADHD tax, haha, not knowing where my things are, but because it's an emotional tax too.
Oh, that is a great
It's not
point.
just a financial tax. It's definitely also
Yeah.
a burden.
Yeah, I'm that just brought up for me that I lose things even if they're important to me,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And there's been a lot of like, small things that I've lost, like a piece of jewelry, or like I lost one of
Yeah.
my mom got me a pair of little diamond earrings for my 16th
Yeah.
birthday, and I lost one of them at a water park. And like,
Yes,
yeah, it's just that's a great point of it's an emotion tax too. And
it is.
yeah.
And it's a whole like emotional thing that I just don't know. I don't know how many, neurotypical people experience that, but
Yeah.
I know that there have been lots of comments made of like, why can't you just like keep it organized or like
Mm,
why can't you
yeah.
get a wallet? And it's like, okay, I have had wallets before, you fuckers. Like, I have been organized in time to time, and right now, like, yeah, I don't know what's happening in my body right now that I can't just like go and get a wallet and keep it in there and
Yeah,
whatnot, but it's not.
with diagnosis, we do know it's literally the disability. Like we, when people are like, "Oh, you're not disabled enough," it's like, "Yeah, I am. Look
Yeah.
at me. I can't get my wallet. I can't keep track of my cards, whatever." Like,
I
but that's,
know.
I mean, that's one of the beauties of being diagnosed and like actually talking to real people with it, because it's not just like stereotypical disability. Like, there are
Totally. It's an
small
invisible
things.
disability.
There are
Yeah.
small things every day that are stressful and cause us dysregulation and cause us, yeah,
Yeah.
way more effect. So,
Have you ever heard of the butterfly effect?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's something that has really helped me. Like I was having shame spirals left and right over like, for example, missing my keys or like losing my
Mm,
keys and then being late for like what's next.
yeah.
But I have like trained my brain to start thinking of the butterfly effect of like, oh, like there is a reason why I am not like on the road right now. Like there
Mhm.
is something holding me back that like has to do with like the butterfly effect. And like who knows
Oh,
if it's true. But like it helps me to know that like, oh, if I'm like 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late, like there is a reason for that. And I try
yeah.
not to get super hard on myself for like misplacing my keys. Like
It's
it
super
happened this
cool.
morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't misplace them. I just got out to my car and didn't have my key with me, so I had to go all the way back to my house. And then I was
Mm.
like, what, 1 minute late? Um,
You were
but
here before I was here, so you're good.
I know.
I was warming my car up, to be fair.
But it's
But
also
yeah, there's,
fine. And like,
yeah, that's one
also,
way to think of it. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, you go ahead.
That's one way to think of it. And then another thing that I've learned in therapy is doing the so what, or like the what if,
Yes.
like prospect of like you think about, okay, so
Yes.
I forgot my keys right now. What if I'm late? Okay, it's not that bad. Like this,
Yes.
or like the card thing of like, oh, what if I can't pay them right now? Okay, so what? We'll figure out a card later. I will come back.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like our brain in the moment cannot get past whatever that stressor is, and then the panic sets in and it gets even worse because it can't
Yes.
get past it at all. But if you can help yourself kind of think in those ways of like this happened for some reason, or this, what if, and it's not that bad, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
sometimes those can help break through a little bit.
They can. And
Mm,
what I was going to say is that it's almost a really good litmus test for supportive people
yeah.
and non-ableist people that can hear you, give you forgiveness when you are late, or just meet you where you're at.
Hmm.
I don't think I've lost friends over being late. I definitely don't know because no one's told me before, and I take people at face value. And really, I'm not late a lot of the time, but
Yeah.
like I've learned to communicate ahead of time too, because I feel like that also used to really freak me out of like owning
Hmm.
up to the fact that I was going to be late.
Oh yeah.
But like that happened a couple years ago in therapy where I was like, oh, I have like the power to just say,
Mhm.
hey, and you know what else I started doing is sharing my ETA with people,
Yeah.
which has been really helpful. Just like from my car, I can send it to them and they can track my location. And that for me just takes a whole thing off of my plate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Cool, unique supports.
cool, unique supports.
Yeah. Are there any other examples of ADHD attacks that you have had?
Oh my God. My
Reddit's first
health.
example was related to car keys. So this
Oh
person
yeah.
said, I lose my car keys and I have to pay for an Uber and then a replacement pair of keys. Or so another example, I'm feeling burnt out and overstimulated, so I order DoorDash instead of cooking.
Did that last night.
I forgot to pack a computer charger on my trip, so now I have to go buy an extra one, even though I have one at home.
Did that 2 weeks
Bathing
ago.
suit.
I'm not alone. It's so funny.
Oh, and then like apps and subscriptions and stuff. Like, oh, I meant to cancel that
Oh
app or
my
that subscription,
God.
and now I've paid for 3 more months of it because I forgot.
That happened last year with the place that you are employed at. I
Yeah.
I downloaded an app to like have another cell phone number
Mm.
and it automatically renewed last month and it was like $112 a
Uh,
year. I was like, what the fuck? And I called them and I was like, so sorry. We need to like not do this because I haven't used it for 10 months.
yeah.
But anyway,
Well, and talking about like other ways that it's a tax besides just money is like the stress of things. Like for me, it's the forgetting things. I have such a terrible memory. And so
me
like, I
too.
don't know, just the stress of like forgetting a password and getting locked out of something, and then you have to call, and then your time is taken up, so it's a time tax. There's so many little things. If you have any fun examples, please post them on our Instagram post this week or on the Spotify comments because I would love some more funny examples to make us giggle at, and maybe we'll read them out next time.
Yeah, I have some ones that are like big but not giggly.
Ooh, yeah, some not so fun ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, last week my I forgot to lock my car door and my work laptop was taken out of the front seat with the backpack and
I
everything.
told you though that I think that that was
I know you
butterfly
did.
effect. I think that was butterfly effect, that if you had locked your doors, they still would have stolen your stuff and they would have broken all your windows, and then you would have had to get the windows replaced and file an insurance claim and
I love that you're my friend.
exactly.
Yeah. And it wasn't a big deal. Like it was just a replacement at work and that was it. And
Yeah.
nothing else was taken from my car, which I really do not understand, but that's fine. That's not for
Yeah.
me to
Don't
sort
understand
through.
bad people that don't get it.
I know. And this is the thing is like my car was also full of Costco food because I had gone to
Mm.
Costco that day
Mhm.
and water bottles. And like, I don't know. I guess people can decide their own values and whatnot, but like if they're people experiencing like hunger or houselessness or whatever, and they come to my car and like steal something, I'd rather them just steal food and water. But like, okay, this is really interesting. This is part of the Bell Hooks book
Okay.
because it's like that concept of why do you need to control how someone else like spends their money or what they do with it? And
Mm.
it's this anecdote of like adults telling their kids to not give houseless people money because then they'll go buy it for drugs.
Mm.
And the concept of like, why don't you just give to give? Which is very different than people stealing from my car. But like, I also, it just frustrated me. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Definitely. But yeah, that's so interesting. We'll talk about an episode later on that I have for a few months down the road about control and
oh God.
yeah, and neurodiversity. And then I'll also talk about like OCD along
Yeah,
with that because I think that a lot of those things interplay with each other and they can definitely be a big part of family life and finances too.
you definitely can.
Yeah. That's all I have for finances for this week.
Well, thanks for talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was a positive episode. I was kind of freaked out beforehand.
Yeah, a little bit. Just thinking about money can send us straight into a spiral, but oh well.
We're all in good company
Yeah,
and safe
definitely.
company.
And if you need
So,
help, reach out to someone. Obviously,
yes.
supports are much needed in this area.
Yeah.
Supports are needed for neurotypical people too, so nobody's got their shit together.
Yeah, and like it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to not know. It's okay to keep on coming back to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the concept of a spiral?
Hmm.
Of like healing is a spiral.
Oh.
So you like so a spiral is something that like goes like this, right?
Mhm.
And the way it's presented is that you keep on coming back to the same place, but you come back to it as a different person.
Ah,
So
okay.
even though you keep on coming back to like that's okay,
Mhm.
you're always different when you're approaching the thought or the problem again.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Super cool.
heal those spirals.
I
I don't know.
know.
Losing it.
Yeah. Yeah, be unapologetically you this week
Find your joy.
and ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely.
Love you guys.
Bye. Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks,
Thanks,
hotties.
hotties.